Let's apply Bootstrap to our forms now, so we can see what that looks like. Let's go back to that index page, and let's look at what it looks like before we start to apply Bootstrap. Here's our form, but everything's sort of disjointed and frankly a little ugly. The way Bootstrap wants to work is it's going to take each of these form groups, really a label and an input, and we're going to give it a class called, unsurprisingly, form group. On the inputs, we're also going to add another class called form control. Let's apply that to each of these so we can see kind of what it looks like. And if I show you that in the browser, we'll see that the controls now take the width of whatever the column it's in, and it's given us sort of a distinct look and feel to each of those labels. So we're inheriting this look and feel from the web page, but it's often a good look. But what about this submit? We could certainly class it with form control, and that, because of the nature of form control, just makes it wide. And that's usually not what we want. It might be. That might be the look you want. Usually I find that using button, success in the case of an add button, I like green to tell the user, oh, this is something we actually want you to do. And refreshing it, it's going to give us a look that makes it a little bit more cohesive here. Instead of the default look of the submit button, we're telling it that we want to actually style it as a specific type of form. Of course, this form doesn't work. Let's see what we can do to make this contact form look a little better, because this has a few more moving pieces. Let's go to that contact page. We'll apply the same ideas. Let's first wrap each of our controls and validation in that div and put form group in it. And I'll repeat this for each of the three controls we have here. Obviously, if there were a lot of controls, this would take a little bit more time. For the last one, we'll continue with form group. And even for our submit button at the end, we'll want to put that in a form group as well. Now, we haven't styled any of the inputs yet, and already the contact form is starting to look a little better. Let's put each of these on their own line. It's a little prettier. Let's go ahead and apply the class form control to each one of these. And whether it's an input or a text area, form control is going to do what we want. Starting to look like an adult form, isn't it? And for our submit message here, we'll do button success. And in our case, this ends up being important because of the validation we have here. Now that we have validation messages here, we might want to style these as well. We can do these with just the text styling. And let's do muted. Text muted is one I haven't talked about before, but only applies to text as far as sort of stylistic colors. And that is a color that, unsurprisingly, is a little muted. I find this is better for validation messages than using something like warning or danger. You know, seeing orange or red might really indicate to them, but I also want to be kind to my users. And so the reality is that that's probably good enough, right? I want to be nice and subtle. You could, of course, when you do this, pick whatever color you want for those validation messages. I also don't like that send message is just the only thing we can do here. So one of the common things I like to do is I'll include another link, but this will be an actual link back to the home page. And so let's use the tag helper, just like we've done before, to go back to the home page in case they want to cancel it. And so I'll just say cancel here, but of course I want to turn it into a button. So I'll use the class again. But I won't give it a success or anything I want them to push. I'll just make it plain old colored. So now we have a cancel and a send. Of course, the cancel, all it does is take them back to the home page. So they have to go back to the contact page to get back here where we want it to be. Now we're giving them this experience of a cancel button, but it's really just a redirect. And this is the common metaphor that I tend to like to use, is to use a link over to another page is just really a cancellation of an operation. And you can see multiple buttons down here actually are going to look pretty good together. So we've used Bootstrap to really take a look at our forms and make them nice and pretty. We've added some nav bars. We've shown you how to use some of the grid systems to start to look like a website made by an adult, or let's say even a designer, without having a lot of design skills. Of course, bringing in a designer, maybe doing overrides to Bootstrap to make it look a little bit more like your company's identity is never a bad thing. But it's something you want to make a decision about. We'll continue to use Bootstrap through the rest of the course as we add different elements to our application. But this is hopefully giving you sort of a quick step into Bootstrap so you can start using it in your own websites.